Hey guys, and welcome to what is hopefully going to be the first of many videos upon the Maelstróm YouTube channel. This one is kind of like a test with this going to be the first video. What I'm going to do is I just thought it would be an idea to go through my UI, how it works, how I use it in raiding, and how to get the best out of your UI really. This all came about due to a conversation I had with Jevon about a month ago now. He just mentioned something in Mumble about you're going to have to go through what add-ons you've got. And so I just thought, you know what, why not do it as a video, as our first video on the Maelstróm YouTube channel. So here we go. So here's Káth. What we'll do is we'll jump into the add-ons and we'll change it to Káth. And I'll show you what add-ons I use. Right, at the top, cursor. Cursor is important to me. And I'll get into that when we jump into the game and we take you through the UI. Now some of these add-ons are going to be auction based. I do play the auction house a lot, so quite a lot of these add-ons are auction based and therefore are not enabled on Káth. They are on my bank alt rather than on Káth. So auctioneer, all these are auctioneer add-ons. Obviously they're unticked, I don't use them. Auctionator I do use on Káth because I still find it better than the standard Blizzard UI to buy and sell items from the auction house. And bean counter again just tells you basically what you have bought and what you have sold and for how much. It basically keeps a record of any of your transactions. Enchantrix and Enchantrix Barker I obviously don't use on Káth. Informant just adds little bits of extra info into the tooltips. Again, I kind of use this mainly for auctioneering. It adds the value of the item, how much it sells for, that sort of stuff. Right, now we get on to the raiding add-ons, more or less. OmniCC is a cooldown count. It adds cooldown count to your bars. Very important for me. Anyway, Postal is just a mailbox add-on. Allows you to open everything in your mailbox, send mail to multiple people, various bits and bobs. Skada, as we all know, is my healing and damage meters. These three, Slide Bar, Stubby and Swatter, are kind of add-ons that kind of work in the background. They don't really do that much, but without them my UI would be a mess. Or wouldn't work the way I want it to work, should I say. Slide Bar, I'll come into Slide Bar in the main rewards once we jump into the game. It basically just tidies up my UI. Stubby allows add-ons to load automatically when needed. Biggest example of this is DBM. Now DBM, if we go down here, DBM has all these different modules for it. Now, as per standard, when you first load into the game, DBM, only the core is loaded, and none of these add-ons are loaded. So what you do, what Stubby allows it to do, is say for example I jump into Firelands, it will automatically load the Firelands module, so I don't need to manually load it. It's always cool. And Swatter just handles lure errors and just is a way of handling lure errors. Tell me when and tell me when options. Tell me when is extremely important for the way I play and for my UI, and I'll go into that in more detail once we're in the game. Voodoo is how I heal, and again I'll explain this once we get into the game. It's a bit complicated to explain just as me speaking, you need to see it. Wim is just Windows Instant Messenger, opens chat windows, chat boxes, things like that. And Wim LVUI is basically gives it a skin for the UI that I use. Now, talking of LVUI is my main UI. And you'll see what it does as we go into it. I will take you through what LVUI does, how it works, and why I like it. And then last but not least, obviously we have DBM and all the DBM modules. So, let's jump into the game, and we'll get into how the add-ons work. Okay, the first thing you see as we jump into the game is that my UI is completely different from the standard Blizzard UI. This is LVUI. This is how it looks. It can be configured any way you like it, but this is how I have my LVUI. Various other bits and bobs. First of all, cursor. Cursor does this. It adds a little trail of light to your cursor as you move it around the screen. I find this extremely useful because, as we'll come into when I explain Voodoo, I use Voodoo for healing and I need to know where my cursor is at all times. And I have this habit of losing my cursor. So when I move my cursor, this flash of light allows me to see instantly where my cursor is and which direction it's going in, and therefore I recover my cursor and can start doing what I need to do again. Right, so the rest of LVI. First of all, you get this little tips box up here, which you can obviously disable if you want to, but I kind of like them, like reading them when they first log in. Maybe something I've missed in LVI, but you can just hide it with the hide button. Right, over here is where I have my stance bar. Obviously I can jump from one stance to the other stance with just clicking the buttons. Down here is my raid cooldown add-on. This allows me to see what raid cooldowns we have available, and it also, when they're used, it will put a timer next to it showing when it's done as such. There we go. I have now used revival, tells me who's used it and how long it has left on its cooldown. Easy way of being able to shout out for raid cooldowns and knowing what raid cooldowns we have left to use. Okay, now down here we have the micro menu, micro bar, whatever you want to call it. By standard LVI default, this is turned off. However, I have my keys set to, well, most of my keys set to keybind of my spells, as you can see from the bars down here, and therefore if I had my micro menu keybound, I would probably forget what key it is. So I turn this on and just place it on top of my chat box, out of the way. Right, obviously the chat box is here. You've got your general, you've got your log, and I also have a separate chat box for raid, which just shows guild and raid messages. I need to change this so it also shows rolls. A couple of times we've been in a raid, people have rolled for items, and I've like, is anybody going to roll for this? Because I haven't seen it, because it doesn't show up in my raid chat box, it shows up in my general. So I need to change that. I'll do that later. Okay, down here, this is Wim. This is what Wim and the LVI skin does. It allows me to add Wim into LVI, tells me I have no new messages, and it will obviously show 1 or 2 or 3, however many messages I've got, if I get a message. This obviously is my durability, and if I hover over it, brings up what item is at what percent. And down here, you can set this to anything, but I've got it set to haste, purely so I know if I'm at the haste breakpoint or not that I need for my renewing mists. Right, over here, this is obviously my bar, and the boxes on the top are chi. So for example, if I use expel harm, it gives me 1 chi, box lights up, lets me have chi. Down here is obviously my action bars. As you can see, most things are keybound. There's the odd thing that isn't keybound, like my blacksmithing and my tailoring, or stuff like that. But most of my main abilities, sort of from this bar over, are keybound. Now you'll notice that my healing spells, apart from the odd 1 or 2, aren't keybound, and we'll come into that later. Okay, over here we have Skada. Now Skada fits again nicely into LVI, allows me to have the healing meter and the damage meter up at the same time. And down at the bottom here we have my FPS, tells me when I hover over it, tells me how much meg whatever add-on is using. I have my time down here, and when I hover over it, it tells me battleground timers, it tells me what raids I'm saved to, and how many bosses we've killed. It tells me if I've defeated the world bosses, and it also gives me the realm time, because that time down there is actually set to my time, UK time, which at the minute we're in BST, that's British Summer Time. So yeah, it does give me the realm time if I hover over it. And over here I have my gold, and when I hover over that, it tells me how much gold I've earned and spent in this session of play. It tells me how much gold I have on all my other characters, and tells me how much gold I have on the server in total. And also you can click these buttons here to hide these boxes if you should wish to, and then when you hover over them, they come back up, and you can click them again to bring them back on. Except this one doesn't seem to be working. Ah, there we are. There we go. That is another part of LVI. Up here we have the map and the buffs. Obviously at the minute the only buff I have is Cyclonic Inspiration. However, if I go and click my buff here, you'll see it doesn't appear next to cyclonic inspiration. Now the reason for that is because my buffs, my general buffs, are down the side here. Now this is one of the things I like about LVUI, and one of the kind of things I hate about LVUI. LVUI recognises what class I am and shows me the buffs that are suitable for my class. So we have stats, stamina, spell power, spell haste, crit strike, and mastery. It doesn't tell me things like attack power or anything like that. So one of the things I kind of don't like about it is the fact that it doesn't tell me how many of the whole raid buffs we have. But I do like the fact that it tells me what buffs I have, puts the little timer in them, and it also tells me who on what spell gives that buff. So for example, spell power tells me it comes from Dalaran Brilliance, Still Water, Burning Wrath, Dark Intent, and Arcane Brilliance, and obviously those spells are colour coded to show which classes give that buff. Down here it says guild, obviously how many people are on in my guild at the moment, and shows the guild message of the day. And friends shows me how many friends are online at the moment, and if there was any friends online, if I hover over it, it would show me who is online at the moment, and if they're a Battle.net friend or not a Battle.net friend. The little C here is the configuration for LVUI. Now I'm not going to go into this. It is way too complicated for me to explain in this video, which I'm hoping is going to be quite short, but maybe quite long. But yeah, this is just the configuration and everything for LVUI. If you want to set up LVUI and you need help configuring it, let me know. One thing I will say is, as default, the unit frames are for raid and party are turned on. However, I have disabled them. As you'll see, the enable is not ticked for any, and the reason for this is because I use Voodoo. The other cool thing about LVUI is the way you get to things. Now, some of you may think that the bag add-on that combines all your bags into one is the greatest thing in the earth. However, when going through my list, you notice I haven't got a bag add-on. It's because LVUI does it automatically. Down here, if I hover over the gold and click, it shows me the bags, and it does it all automatically in one bag. Over here we have buttons, so I can toggle the bags, so I can choose which bags to display, and untoggle the bags again. Over here we have the good old vendor greys button, so that I'm at a vendor. I click that, automatically vendors all greys. If I want to destroy the greys, obviously as it says there, I can just hold shift and it will delete them all. And it also gives you a warning. There you go. Do you want to delete all your grey items and the map value of the grey items? So you can either click yes or no. This button sorts the bags. Now I have no idea how it sorts it, but it sorts the bags like so. Again, I'm guessing it has some sort of order that it sorts them in, but I'm unsure. But it apparently sorts the bags. Stack items. Now, if you've got multiple of the same item that is stackable, you can click that button and it will stack them all together. So, for example, if I was to take away some of the bolts of wool cloth and click on stack, it will stack the items there. And we also have this one here, which is stack bags to bank, which basically means if I go to my bank, open my bank, click that, it will put all my bags in the bank if there's enough slots in the bank. And then obviously to get rid of it, I can just click on the cross. Other cool things, time down here. If I click on that, opens up my calendar. Really cool. The FPS menu down here doesn't do anything when you click on it. The guild up here, if I click on it, opens up the guild list. And you've got the news, roster, rewards, info, everything like that as you would do your normal guild list. And friends does exactly the same. Opens up my friends list and gives me all my friends list. Now there is something down here. Oh yeah, the durability one opens up obviously a character portrait, and messages just opens Wim. Now I'll show you what Wim does. If I want to send a message to someone, say I want to send a message to Priestykins, I can open Whisper, and there we go, we have Wim. It opens it in a new box, I can type whatever I like, and it comes up down there. Let's get rid of it. I just get rid. And if he replies to me, it will flash down here that I have a new message. Now that is LVUI in a nutshell. LVUI is awesome for what it does. It's clean, it's tidy, it looks cool. Okay, other add-ons we use. This is Voodoo here. This is my raid frames, and my Voodoo is configured so that when I click and right click and mouse scroll and things like that, it heals with various different spells. Now I have mine set the way I have it. I'll go through that in a minute. One thing I do want to say before that I may have missed out is you'll notice I have no icons around my map. The reason I have that is because of sidebar, which we talked about earlier. Sidebar is this little icon here, which I can put all the little map icons in, like tell me when, like Voodoo, like swatter, information configuration, and bean counter in there that would normally have icons around the map. So if I click on them, it brings up the Voodoo options. Now that is cool. That means that my map is nice and clean. I can see everything as I need to. But yes, this is Voodoo. Voodoo is configurable, very configurable. It has loads and loads of options. Again, I'm not going to go through it here for you. But there we go. It has loads of options. Now, what I do is obviously I can move with my movement keys and still heal with using my mouse button. So I have down for renewing mists, up for soothing mists, left click is surging mist, right click, if I have enough G, hang on, is enveloping mists, alt and up is uplift, but I have no G, typical, we get some G, alt and up is uplift, alt and down is life cocoon, and everything else is more or less, middle button is detox. Obviously I haven't got no debuffs on me, so I can't dispel anything at the moment, but my middle mouse button is detox. And that's how it works, and you'll see later when we go into a LFR how Voodoo configures itself for the rest of the party. Now, as I was doing those spells, you may have seen these icons here disappear. This is because this add-on is Tell Me When, and this add-on tells me what spells are available and off cooldown. As you'll notice, there is a icon missing there. That icon there is Life Cocoon, which obviously is a raid cooldown, so it shows on my raid cooldowns bar. It tells me how long I've got left on the cooldown for it. Also, down here you'll notice the 1M in the icon. That is OmniCC telling me that I have a countdown of 1 minute, and there we go, it's just changed to less than a minute for Life Cocoon to become available again. Now obviously these spells are and this tells me what's available. So this one, for example, is my trinket, is my mana trinket, so if I use that, disappears. This one is obviously expel, no it's not, it's Chi Wave, so if I use Chi Wave, that one disappears. This is renewing mists, renewing mist disappears. This is expel harm, if I use expel harm, that disappears. This is my mana tea and how many stacks of mana tea I have. If I press that, it goes away. And this is Thunder Focus Tea. Let me just get the tea, Chi. I use Thunder Focus Tea, I press it, it doesn't tell me I've pressed it until I use Uplift, in which case the cooldown starts and it goes off cooldown. One thing you'll also notice is when these come back, they come back with 2 seconds to spare. That allows me to know, right, this spell is available again in 2 seconds. For example, Life Cocoon just happened there. Now, these spells, some of them, Renewing Mists, Expel Harm, I need to be using on cooldown. And, to a certain extent, Thunder Focus Tea. Sorry, not Thunder Focus Tea, Mana Tea. So I know that these in 2 seconds these spells will become available. They've got mana teas there. Obviously I've got no charges of it this time, so I can't use it, but I know in 2 seconds it was available. That is really, really important for spells that you need to keep on cooldown. One thing you will notice is that I don't track cooldowns of my procs. Now, as a healer, I don't find this to be that important. Obviously, when I do proc, my buffs will appear up here. Let me see if I can get one to proc. There we go. Jade Spirit is just procced. Oops. Jade Spirit is just procced. So it does appear up there. But I don't find it that useful because I'm always healing anyway. I wouldn't heal more if a proc had occurred if nobody needed it. Nobody needed the healing. So I don't find it important to track the procs using Tell Me When. However, on my Warlock, tracking procs is stupidly important, so I do track procs on my Warlock, just not on the healer. And that's about it for the UI. That's everything as far as it goes from looking at it. What we'll do now is we'll jump into an LFR. Hey guys, right, here we are into a 5-man. Obviously it's not an LFR because the queues were too long even for a healer. So we're in a 5-man. Okay, we've got a tank still learning to tank, which is brilliant. But you get the picture of how everything works. Obviously Voodoo has sorted out who is in my group and how it all works. And you can see what I'm doing here. One thing I didn't mention is how I track renewing mists and who has renewing mists. Now obviously renewing mists are these down the side here. One of the best things about 5-man is I can actually chuck in some DPS. And I love doing this. I don't really need to heal, these 5-mans are stupidly easy. Obviously in a raid I wouldn't be doing this. There you go, look at the damage. But yeah, this is basically how it works in a 5-man and in a raid situation. Obviously the groups will be different. I have group 2 here, group 3 and 4 down here, and 5 down there as well. Okay, I'm just going to sit back and do some chilling DPS, healing here, rather than doing what I would do normally in a 5-man. I don't particularly want to take the aggro off the tank, seeing as he's a new tank. But yeah, one thing you will notice straight off the bat is there are no numbers. I do not have numbers on my screen. You don't need them. I find them personally annoying and distracting. There is no need for us to have any numbers on the screen at all. There really is no need for these numbers, so I don't use them. Just chuck in some DPS. It was one of the great things about being a monk. I can DPS while healing. Awesome. And then you see me using my manatee. We've got a dispeller. Oh yeah, did you notice that there, guys? That's the loot frame. The loot frame in LVI is that bar that appears over there. And this guy decides he wants to come and attack me, so let's have a go at him back. Oh, and now he's run off. And he's dead. Okay, from this boss you'll also notice the placement of my DBM warnings and where they are and things like that. Again, we'll just sit out and chill, we'll not do no DPS at the minute. But you can see my warnings are here, and then when they get closer they're over here. And then once they pop up they're in the middle there. There we go. Cooldown used. Thunder Focus Tea has been used. I'll drink my mana tea, and we'll stick a shield on the tank. And we'll do some J Lightning. No, maybe not, because he's down. Okay, we'll J Lightning the dragon instead. Yeah, J Lightning. But yeah, this is basically it. You can see over here what raid cooldowns we've got. We've got Rebirth, we've got Innovate, we've obviously got Zen Meditation. And that was a new moment by me standing in the breath there, but hey ho. Not that it actually hurts. These dungeons are an absolute piece of piss. We've got a Soul Stone, we've also got Rallying Cry, and a demo banner. And I'm going to go do some DPS because I'm getting bored. So let's go and hit stuff. The clicking you can probably hear in the background is my keyboard. As I said before, I am fully keybound, and obviously while I'm doing this DPS you can see I do not keep up with renewing mists at all. I have no need to do it. And our disenchanter is not there. Why can we not disenchant that item? I don't know, we'll read it. Hey guys, just want to show you one thing that came out of that 5-man. Look at the chat. DPS. I usually am top 1 or 2 DPS. Get it all the time, especially from people who don't know how monks work or healing monks work. Yeah, it's all good fun. Stick around for more videos. Hopefully there should be some up shortly.